Welcome to PRAJNA Sparks, a podcast where we listen to a Dharma talk, contemplate with our minds and in our hearts, and engage in guided meditation. In this episode, we're going to be exploring mind further. Every episode of PRAJNA Sparks takes hours to plan, record, and edit. We ask that, if you haven't already, you give us some time today to like, subscribe, share, and review our podcast. Alongside your own practice, this is the best possible offering as it helps the Dharma reach new listeners.
As we continue our exploration of the two truths, apparent reality and genuine reality, it would be good to recap what we've done thus far. 2 episodes ago, we looked at apparent reality, what we normally think of as life. The Tibetan term for this is kunsupdenpa, literally the truth or reality consisting of what is entirely obscuring or only seeming in character. These are different ways to literally translate the Tibetan phrase, and this is rendered as apparent reality, as well as conventional reality or conventional truth, relative reality or relative truth, and so forth. Basically, what comprises apparent reality is anything that is the object of conceptual mind. Sensory experiences, which are the processing of sensory data by mind, thoughts, opinions, projections, assumptions, and so forth. Any conceptual object is necessarily a part of apparent reality. This is not a value judgment. It's not like apparent reality is good and genuine reality is bad, or concepts are bad and non-concepts are good. But its philosophy and practice is not about eschewing apparent reality in favor of genuine reality. It's about transcending even the duality of apparent and genuine, conventional and absolute, relative and ultimate. These dualities, these labels, are themselves conceptual mind. Non-conceptual mind is not some kind of blankness or void. It is the utter fullness that encompasses all that is. So then genuine reality is in contrast to these descriptions of apparent reality. It's about the wholeness that encompasses all ways of experiencing things just as they are. In the last episode, we looked at how to draw near to an understanding of genuine reality in the medium of our own meditative experience. This is one very viable approach that various Buddhist heritages, or even a particular heritage of Buddhist teachings and practice, may employ to bring about a direct experience of genuine reality. Another way of really understanding what we're talking about when we talk about these two truths or two realities is that apparent reality is always mediated, indirect. It's mediated by conceptual mind. It's filtered through conceptual mind, and most importantly, the ignorance that is fundamental to samsaric experience. That misperception of the true nature of things, which colors all of our experience whenever we're under the influence of samsaric mind. By contrast, genuine reality is the direct, unmediated, you might say clean experience of ultimate mind, the authentic mind. In other words, it's the bare, naked truth, without any processing, without any filtering, without any coloring by conceptual mind of samsara, tainted as it is by the fundamental ignorance of the true nature of things. It's important to know from the outset, before we look at genuine reality from the perspective of logic and reasoning, that it's not like apparent reality and genuine reality. These two truths are separate things. They are two aspects of each and everything. So if we look at our body has a relative, conventional, or apparent aspect, as well as a genuine, ultimate, or absolute aspect. Genuine reality is the very nature of all things in apparent reality. So when we say that everything has two aspects, its appearing aspect and its genuine aspect, it's talking about the way things appear and the way things actually are. In the episode on apparent reality, we used a very commonplace example of that, how we might misinterpret somebody's behavior and get hurt or angry or resentful based on misunderstanding, not knowing what's actually happening. And then when we get the full story, that refreshes our understanding. It brings it up to speed. This is a very good, though basic, example for the relationship between apparent and genuine reality and the role they play in Buddhist practice. In Tibetan, the term for genuine reality is Dundam Dempa, the truth of what is the highest reality. In other words, the experience of the authentic mind, the mind that is embodying the true nature of mind itself, the mind of Buddhahood. This Buddha nature is something that is intrinsic to mind wherever we find it. So if apparent reality consists of the object of intellectual or conceptual mind, the indirect mind that filters things, that is colored by fundamental ignorance, then genuine reality is the sphere of experience of the authentic mind of Buddhahood, completely free of all obscurations. It's a really important thing to say that genuine reality is the very nature of apparent reality. Because what that means is that genuine reality, the emptiness or shunyata, the true nature of our own mind and of all phenomena, is right there in front of us, within us, right in our experience, every moment, all of the time. It seems abstract when we talk about it because we have this ignorance habit. It's a really congealed habit. In time beyond time, we have processed ourselves, others, and the world by means of this filter of not knowing the true nature of things. Not only that, we've concretized, frozen that perception so that it is very thick and difficult to penetrate. What in the world can do that then? What can get through a habit that has existed in time beyond time? This is the importance of prajna, precise knowledge, not only in its conventional form, what we cultivate through listening, contemplating, and meditating, but in its transcendent or ultimate form, prajna paramita, the non-dual wisdom that directly experiences emptiness of oneself, others, and all phenomena. This is the direct experience of the true nature of things, and it is at the core of all Buddhist practice. The difference from one heritage to another lies more in the methodologies or the emphases, the approach to developing that prajna paramita to the utmost level. In the context of the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism and the Mahamudra practice from which we present this podcast, our own mind is the laboratory for examining both apparent reality and genuine reality. By looking at the lived experience of our mind and examining its nature on an immediate level as well as an ultimate level, we penetrate through to the genuine reality, the emptiness, the true nature of mind. Well, that's good, but then what about everything else? What about all the folks who make me angry or desirous or sad or heartbroken? This is the beauty of this approach to practice, because the nature of anything, its genuine reality, is the nature of everything. It's not like the genuine reality of your cell phone is different from the genuine reality of your mind. The true nature of your mind is emptiness, lucidity, inseparable. And the true nature of your cell phone is emptiness, penetrated by that lucidity of mind. By examining mind for ultimacy, in other words, applying logical reasoning to try to penetrate to the genuine reality of mind, to its true nature, we arrive at understanding of emptiness at whatever level we're at. That applies to anything and everything. So what exactly is this true nature, this genuine reality? It boils down to emptiness, shunyata, that quality of all things that is in contradistinction to the way we experience apparent reality. In other words, emptiness is the infinite potentiality of mind and phenomena. The fact that they are all fluid, multivalent, and radically interconnected to the point where distinction is no longer possible. We could also say that if emptiness is how to describe genuine reality, then interdependence is how to describe apparent reality. It's not like apparent reality is bad or wrong. It's a reality. It is true or real within its own sphere. One of the magnificent signals of how skillful a teacher the Buddha is that he teaches us from right where we are, within the realm of apparent reality, to the extent that we are subject to the fundamental ignorance that does not know the true nature of things, then we are existing, inhabiting a realm of apparent reality, where everything we experience, we take to be real just the way we experience it. We don't scratch the surface to see what more is happening there, what the full story is. Even in a simple situation, like the person whose actions we misinterpret, causing us anger or what have you. So the Buddha teaches us how to live authentically in the world by teaching us interdependence, which is like the gravity of apparent reality, the logic or the rules, if you will, of how apparent reality functions. In other words, it's emptiness operating within the realm of apparent reality. And interdependence in and of itself can be an incredibly subtle topic. It's much more than a seed that gives rise to a seedling, that gives rise to a sprout that eventually becomes a tree. Those are all cause and effect stages that are influenced by various conditions like soil and fertilizer and warmth and irrigation. And that's a simple understanding of interdependence, of cause and effect. But there's also much more subtle versions. And by pursuing those, we can actually penetrate to the very nature of apparent reality. Isn't that astonishing? Isn't that wonderful? We don't have to go somewhere else looking for genuine reality. Genuine reality is the very nature of everything we experience. By examining interdependence in its coarse, subtle, and even subtlemost ways, we eventually arrive at the subtlemost understanding of the emptiness, the lack of true existence of self, or self-entity in phenomena. That in and of itself is obviously a very detailed curriculum, but for our purposes, why is that important? Because apparent reality is always deceiving to some degree. I'm going to repeat that. Apparent reality is always deceiving to some degree. Some of those deceitful ways of apparent reality are obvious, like when we convince ourselves that this person is angry at us. Some of them might seem controversial, like everything the Buddha teaches is deceiving, compared to incorrect ways of living in the world, such as if I kill this person who made me angry, I'll feel much better. Then, of course, the Buddha's teachings are less deceiving. The Buddha is operating within the sphere of apparent reality when he teaches things such as karmic cause and effect, interdependent origination, and so forth. It's not that they are untrue. It's just that they are true within the realm of apparent reality. But when you examine even karma, even interdependence, you end up at emptiness. Because when we examine anything for ultimacy, for their ultimate essence, we arrive at emptiness, the true nature of things. This is an incredible tool because we can start parsing apparent reality based on what is or is not reliable along a spectrum, where, for the Buddhist, the Buddha's teachings are the most reliable of the deceiving truths of apparent reality, whereas acting in ways that include, for example, the 10 non-virtues, killing, stealing, disrespecting sexuality, lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, meaningless chatter, malice, covetousness, or wrong views, these are the most unreliable. Why? Because they do not align with the true nature of things. Another remarkable thing, these are not unvirtuous activities because the Buddha said so. They are not virtuous because they don't align with the true nature of our own heart-mind. They don't line up with the highest aspirations we have for ourselves, to be happy and free of suffering. Because they do not align with the true nature of things, non-virtuous actions lead to unpleasant results. Whereas virtuous actions, actively overturning non-virtues, such as not only avoiding killing, but protecting life, align with the true nature of our heart-mind, the true nature of our radical interconnection with all beings. As a result, that intrinsic harmony means that they lead to pleasing results, what we call positive. This is the most reliable that we get within apparent reality. And yet, even cultivating goodness and abundant profusion and avoiding harm simply produces more samsara. Even loving kindness, compassion, the deepest shamatha or jhana practice leads to more samsara. Maybe relatively more pleasant samsara, but still samsara. By nature, samsara is such that even pleasant experiences eventually burn through the karma that gave rise to them, so that the seeds for unpleasant samsaric experiences follow after. This is why in Buddhist practice, it is not only shamatha, or calm abiding, resting meditation, that is the focus. In fact, shamatha is there for a very important purpose. It is the indispensable basis, the foundation for effective vipassana, insight or knowing practice that gives rise to prajna, the precise knowledge that comes about through listening, through contemplating, and through meditating when we're looking at it from this reasoning standpoint. In the Mahamudra tradition, we develop prajna by means of examining mind, seeing its characteristics, penetrating to its very nature until we have a direct experience of its nature, typically fleeting. This is a meditative experience. It's still prajna, but it's very unstable, kind of like when a baby is just taking its first steps. It could take a couple of steps and then plop, falls right back down again. It takes a little bit of practice, some familiarity, and some ease. And before you know it, they're walking across the room without even thinking about it, without a single quiver. This is what our practice is like. Vajrayana takes a whole other tack. It's saying, well, let's just drop for a moment all of these things that are only apparent, that are deceiving, that are not reliable. This idea of a truly existent self, for example, and take on, embody the true nature of our mind, bedecked with jewels, glowing with loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, replete with power, wisdom, and the supreme of all excellent qualities. And get used to that. Let that experience burn through our misperception of what we are, of who we are. The logical reasoning style of practice takes on a whole other tack again. This is one that uses the proclivity that many of us have to think something to death, to really analyze from every possible angle. And mind can really continue almost indefinitely if it's led to more and more and more associations. But this kind of logical analysis is boundaried. It's examining things in a very careful way, aware of the contours of the arena of our analysis. Out of that, we can develop that meditative experience, that glimpse of the nature of things, that spark of prajna, and rest within that for a time till we become more familiar with it, alternating between experiential analysis and resting till we become more and more habituated to the prajna that sees the true nature of things directly. Eventually, like the arms of a scale, we reach the tipping point where prajna is nearly equal to that ignorance of the true nature of things. Just another featherweight's worth of prajna will tip the scales altogether, burning through the conceptual aspect of prajna, the fundamental ignorance as to the true nature of things, arising out of their ashes, the phoenix of prajna paramita, non-dual wisdom, the mother of Buddhahood, that directly experiences things just as they are. May all beings know and be this mother of Buddhas, Prajna Paramita.
This is Zopa and Yeshe for PRAJNA SPARKS. Be sure to join us every month on the new moon for fresh episodes. Stay tuned now for a guided meditation. Shivnee is our Tibetan singing bowl artist. Thanks for the generosity of giving us some time out of your day to like, subscribe, share, and review PRAJNA SPARKS. It really does help us to spread the gift of Dharma to new listeners. If you have any questions, contact us via email, Instagram, or Facebook. Check the episode notes for those links and for more resources on today's topic. Visit us on the web at prajnafire.com or follow us on Instagram and Facebook at PRAJNA SPARKS. Thank you for listening. May all beings benefit.
Instead of our usual meditation, this episode offers a thought exercise, a reasoning for you to look at on the cushion or off to develop a sense of that precise knowledge, the prajna, as to the nature of me. To say that the genuine reality or the nature of ourselves, our mind, our experiences are empty means that they have infinite potentiality, infinite causes and conditions that come together to have it appear the way they do for you in this moment. So think about it. Take an example of a time when you were angry or passionate, something that comes to mind relatively quickly. Anger is especially good at that because it's very outward facing and very coarse. So it's easy to get a sense of that strength of the sense of me. And without getting stuck in that experience, try to identify that sense of me within that experience. Now see if you can find that me that feels so strong, so real, so powerful. Can you find that me anywhere in your body? Your gut that feels clenched? Your heart that's beating? Your brain that's racing to send all kinds of neural impulses? Are any of those me? Where was that me the moment before you recalled that memory? Where will that me go the moment that you let that memory go? Go ahead and let it go now and come back to this moment of time and look back. Can you sense a continuum from this moment to the time you were just investigating that memory and further still to when you first had that experience? Yeah, we experience that all the time. We have this sense of a continuity that goes all the way back to our earliest memory. We call that me. That sense of me, however, completely obscures the genuine reality of me, not someone stuck in a lasting sense of anger or shame or pain or even joy, not someone that is independent of anyone or anything in our lives, but susceptible to everything we encounter. Not someone that is a monolith, a single entity, a unitary thing, but a vast, wonderful, confusing mess of feelings, experiences, bodily sensations, sensory apparatus. In other words, the genuine reality of me is huge. It's infinite. It's a continuum that not only goes back to our earliest memories, but even before those memories, and continues going forward, even if we lose touch of that me, if we're asleep or in a coma, if we faint or we die. Understanding that the genuine reality of me, of others, and of all things intersect in this way shows us that not only are we not separate, small, finite entities, but we are radically interconnected, universal, infinite beings who have subtle and deep impacts on one another and receive nuanced, penetrating impacts from each other and the world. This can be a very vulnerable way to go through life. The truth often is. But it is also very alive, very powerful, very real. Please join me in praying that, having attained omniscience by this merit, we may defeat the enemy wrongdoing and liberate all beings from this ocean of suffering with its surging waves of birth, aging, illness, and death. Thank you for your practice and for all that you do to wake up to all that you are.